Well, Browns fans, it's another Therapy Tuesday. It's another loss. The glimmer of hope is gone. We have to look ahead. The trade deadline is here. The Browns made a move. What do we want to do about all the fantasy football injuries as well? Plus some best bets early on. Have a special guest to talk some Browns as well. Big show coming up. Let's go.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara, the sickest Cleveland Browns podcast.
Chubb runs, he's to the 10, 15, he's to the 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. There goes Chubb, he's to the 30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown, Chubb Hub.
It's gonna be sick.
All right, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Click subscribe, notifications on for the Sick Podcast as we discuss another Browns loss. But more importantly, what now? What's next with the trade deadline here? What's going on? What do we expect? That's what we're going to be talking about today. We'll give out some Dog Bones Doghouse. Special guest Jake Trotter from ESPN Cleveland. Does the post-game show for the Browns. He's friend of show and covers college football. So we can actually chat a little bit about, well, who should the Browns be looking at, especially at the QB position? Because good Lord, we know we need that. Before we bring on Jake, 27-10 losers to the Chargers. Some parts weren't as bad as we may have thought, but I got some dog bones and some people to put in the doghouse. All right, so let's look at this game first. Dog bone, first of all. Big old dog bone. Guess what? Myles Garrett, obviously, right? Obviously, Myles Garrett. What a wasted effort. 3 sacks. An unstoppable machine was Myles Garrett. Just, you slow it down. Brian Baldinger from NFL Network, on his Twitter, he gave a video breakdown and said it was the first time in NFL history that a player got three sacks solo on 4 plays. It was sensational. Myles Garrett, of course, is an all-timer. I'm making sure just mentally I'm trying to appreciate everything he does. It's one of the few bright spots on this Browns team, but he does all that. And the frustrating thing with this game was Myles Garrett plays so well. The defense tackle for loss. Dalvin Tomlinson gets a dog bone too. Everything was right there, but what happened? Well, we had breakdowns. Am I looking at 2022 Joe Woods Browns defense, folks? Is that what I'm looking at? Because you had all those positive plays, then boom, breakdown, Denzel Thornhill. Boom, breakdown, Denzel Thornhill again. And I put that on Thornhill. Thornhill looks slow and old to me. I'm not going to put that on Denzel. Neither did Thornhill. He stepped up as well. Denzel, captain, tried to take Thornhill's in the doghouse. This whole defense looks average, and it got a whole lot more average by trading Za'Darius Smith. We'll talk about that in a couple minutes. Also, special teams. Like, I love Bubba Ventrone, but do we got to fire this guy next year? If we're talking coaching changes and you go the way this season looks like it is continuing to go, you might have to make a change at special teams coordinator. And I think Bubba's great, but come on. More big kick returns, punt returns back. Blocked field goal. The only good thing is Corey Bojorquez. Another dog bone for the punter. That's how sad we are. Punter gets the dog bone. It's just a case where we look and wait, and there's no return options still. And you're not just that. Now you're giving up big plays and costly ones. So special teams, all in the doghouse. The play calling left a lot to be desired. Now, credit to Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers. Like, man, they call and on the broadcast, they were saying nobody's open. Well, then you got to scheme better. Ken Dorsey and Kevin Stefanski. You got to scheme better. You're being out coach. Make the adjustments and go. You're a 2-time coach of the year. Damn it. Let's go. Didn't work. Didn't happen. Now the Browns are 2-7. We had that Jameis glimmer, 3 interceptions. We knew that was coming, man. That's the Jameis Winston experience. What are you going to do? Right? What are you going to do? That's where we're at. And the trade deadline is there. We have a poll up as well on X at SickPodBrowns at AndyMC81. You can vote now and ask the question here. What do you think of the Za'Darius Smith trade that came today, sending to the Detroit Lions? Nobody helps teams build better than Andrew Berry and the Cleveland Browns. They get a potential rock for their defensive end to replace Aiden Hutchinson to improve, and off you go. I want to ask my next guest this question and look to the future. What the hell is going to happen next? And some college football stuff. Let's bring on friend of show, Jake Trotter from ESPN Cleveland. Jake, welcome back, my friend. How are you?
What's going on, buddy? Good to be on.
Oh, thank you for coming back. And look, I love the job. It's not an enviable job this year that you have doing the Browns post-game show, but I thought Jake's the perfect blend because we can talk Browns, but you also do a tremendous job covering college football. And that's really, as Browns fans, we got to be watching more college football because that's really the only hope right now, right?
Start watching Miami, start watching Colorado, Georgia, Texas, Alabama. Yeah, it's really, I was just texting with somebody at ESPN about this very thing. The Saints are in really bad shape, right? The Browns' next opponent. They might be in the worst shape in the NFL, but the Browns are right there in the conversation. They might be the only other team, potentially with Carolina, that you're just like, where do you even go from here? And I think for the Browns, their way out is to draft James Daniels, to draft Drake May, to draft Caleb Williams. And anything short of that, I don't know. I don't know the path forward where you're not in just the abyss for 5 years. I mean, I don't know if people realize, and I said this at the time for this very reason, and people haven't been paying attention because the Haslams have outspent the salary cap. In other words, they've been able to push the cap down the road because the Haslams have been willing to spend. But the 2022 roster was the best one that Deshaun Watson was going to play with. 2023 was the next best. 2024 was third best. Fourth best is coming up. And then from there, it's going to get gradually worse because they can't afford to keep guys like Wyatt Teller, right?
Right.
Potentially somebody like Greg Newsome. They are going to have to start shedding quality starters because they can't afford them. Do you realize the Browns are in the red cap-wise next year, the year after, and basically through the Watson contract? And so when they would create cap space for this year, people initially be like, in August or July, whoa, what are the Browns? They're going to trade for Devontae Adams. No, they're doing this just to get cap compliant, and they're not even there yet for next year. So this is a disaster of epic proportion, and in no way do you try to spend the most money on a roster in NFL history and end up with the worst record in the NFL, which is where the Browns are. It's just an absolutely brutal place to be, and it all goes back to the Watson trade.
Yeah.
We don't have to continue to relitigate it, but
it is.
It's rough. It is really bleak right now.
Jake, I'm wearing the shirt Browns against the world. I think more accurately would be Browns against themselves. It seems like they just keep messing with themselves. Like you said, the Watson deal was the catapult to that, but then pushing the money forward, unimpressive drafts overall, trades, Elijah Moore, quarterback choices, not bringing guys. How did Kareem Hunt look last night? Pretty good to me, and he wanted to be here. No, not good. Super Bowl champs. He's fine. Not good enough for the Browns. Drives me nuts.
Well, listen, every move you make is not going to be a home run.
No.
Every move you make is not going to pan out. I think what has exasperated the draft issues is that they've had a dearth of picks. Mm-hmm. So and again, like, there's no defense of the Jedrick Wills draft pick that has not worked out even remotely. I think the Greg Newsome pick, listen, Greg Newsome is a good nickelback, but he's not a Pro Bowl outside corner. So, that was okay. And they got JOK in the second round, which was a phenomenal pick. They drafted Delpit in the second round. Really good pick. They have made good picks. The problem is that they have not had first round picks or second round picks the last 3 years. So now you are seeing the lack of young up and coming talent on rookie contracts. Outside MJ Emerson, who are you excited about on a rookie deal still?
Nobody.
Maybe Dewan at left tackle. Now we'll see.
Cedric Tillman, maybe.
Oh yeah, Tillman is now. I would put Tillman in that conversation too. But there's just not And that's only the last couple of weeks. And then I think the other area that's really hurt them is they've been trying to find receivers for this passing offense, and they just keep striking out. Now, maybe they've hit on Cedric Tillman, but otherwise, like Elijah Moore, Anthony Schwartz, David Bell, Michael Woods. I'm probably forgetting guys. I'm not big on the way Jerry Jeudy has looked so far, although I think some of that has been outside his control. It's just when you trade all your picks away, you better hit on the ones you have left, and they have not done that.
No. And you know what? To your point, and to Andrew Berry's credit, we're going to dump on him for the bad ones. If Cedric Tillman continues to develop like this, and if you get DeJuan Jones as your future left tackle as a 5th-round pick without having to spend a first round, and full credit to him. But the problem is, Jake, we're back to the spot where it was in that 1 and 31 where it was, we need to amass picks. Now we're back to amassing picks and have the same brain trust who haven't done great with these picks. And
but
that's
the difference is they were trying to lose in 2016. They're not trying to lose. And yet, I don't know, like I think the 2016, 2017 Browns would give this team a ball game the way that they have played. I mean, so I think defensively, if we're stepping back and taking a look at this team long term, defensively, I think that you can be okay. Like they are not the defense they were last year. There has been some major regression. I don't know what it is. They can't force turnovers. It's bizarre how bad of an intercepting team they are, given the corner talent that they have. But you've got Delpit, you've got Denzel, you've got Emerson, you've got JOK, and you've got Miles. I think that is pretty dang good to rebuild around. I think that they can make that work, right?
Right.
Offensively, I don't even know where you start. It is so dire on that side of the ball. So, Batonio is a phenomenal player. He is he's on the wrong side of 30, right?
Sure.
I mentioned to you that Teller, there's a reason they drafted Zach Center. Otherwise, the offensive line, I have no idea what you have. All right. Maybe DeJuan works out at left tackle. I think that remains to be seen.
Yeah.
God bless Nick Chubb. Guy is giving it all his all. He does not have the same explosiveness, and you wonder if he's ever going to get that back. So you don't have anything at running back, I think, going forward. And then we talked about receiver. I mean, Tillman and Jeudy, even in the best case scenario, let's say those guys max out, you still probably have a bottom 5 or 6 receiving core in the NFL.
Sure.
And let's not even get into quarterback. So that's where we are right now.
Well, I think we should be getting a look at some point of Jamari Thrash, intriguing prospect, but again, who knows, right? We don't know. And the problem is, to your point about quarterback, who's going to be getting the ball? And are you able to actually find out what you have at receiver with the quarterbacks that we have? Now, Jameis is going to be up and down. We saw good Jameis. We saw real bad Jameis. DTR, he's going to be in there at some point. Who the heck knows with that? It's just tough evaluating those spots. And you got David Njoku, which is a positive. But Jake, like overall, yeah, like you're expensive, you're old. You're going to have to tear this thing down. And you had this window with the Deshaun. Like,
it's closed.
Someone has to. Let me ask you. I say someone should have to, but will somebody pay in that building for that Deshaun Watson decision? If it was people had to say yes to Jimmy at some point. Is it DePodesta? Is it Barry? Like that's what that collaborative word. They're very slippery. You don't know who to blame, right?
Well, here's the deal too. I mean, like Kevin and Andrew can say whatever they want. Like it was Jimmy. And listen, Jimmy spearheaded that trade. I have no doubt in my mind about it. Okay. But Andrew and Kevin were in Houston. Like they were part of the decision. And if Jimmy wants to hold them accountable for that, I think he's well within his right to. It is the worst trade in NFL history for so many different reasons. No, it has been a debacle of epic proportion again. And like, he's going to be on the roster. He's on the roster next year. I don't know if he's going to be starting. I can't imagine they haven't seen enough at this point, but we'll see. They've had an extraordinary amount of patience to see what he can do. I think we know that it's just not going to work, especially in Cleveland going forward. I mean, why would he want to come back? Like fans were booing him when he had an injury, for crying out loud. I mean, that's how bad it's gotten. But yeah, I mean, I think it depends what happens the rest of the season. Like there's a scenario where they go like 3-14 and it gets just so ugly and there are so few people in the stands and it gets so egregious that they have to fire somebody just to quell, just to placate the fan base.
Give some
But,
blood.
if they go 6-11 and Cedric Tillman looks like a real guy and, there's some other positive developments, then, maybe you roll forward with the brain trust you have. I just, I don't know, like coming out of the bye, this team is going to probably go back to being semi unwatchable again. And when fans lose interest, that's almost as bad as like them being upset. I think that we're getting ready to have a lot of Brown fan apathy going forward.
Right.
I mean, it's just, what's the point? Like, there's no
So long left in the season.
There's just, what are you even watching at this point? It's not like you have Drake May to go root for.
Yeah.
It's not like, this is a team that is surprisingly improved and still bad. There's just nothing. It's like the Saints. Like, nobody wants to go watch the Saints. The Browns are in the same bucket.
And they play them out of the bye. Prison inmate game.
Depressing. That's going to be a depressing game.
Maybe we could win if that's even the right strategy. Jake, here's my theory with this. And you've covered the team in the building very closely. Tell me if I'm nuts or if I'm wrong. I don't think anything changes strategy-wise, how collaborative-wise, whatever, with this team until Paul DePodesta is gone. Otherwise, if they fire Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry, they can fire him. Guess what? They're going to get another yes-man coach. They're going to get another yes-man GM to all fall under this awful strategy. The record speaks for itself for a guy who never had any success in baseball either. That Moneyball didn't win squat. So you have that. I don't think anything changes with Paul DePodesta at the top. Is that fair? Yeah. Is that out of line?
Well, Paul essentially hired Kevin and Andrew.
Yeah.
If you remember, they didn't have a GM or a head coach after moving on from Freddie and John Dorsey, and it was essentially Haslam, Chris Cooper, and Paul DePodesta running these interviews. Like those were the three who were deciding on those positions. And so, if you fired Kevin and Andrew, you're really going to have to explain why you want to keep the guy who hired them. Yeah. And that's where I'm with you. Like, and I think that, we have seen Kevin thrive as a head coach, right?
Yeah.
We have seen Jen Schwartz. We've seen Bubba Ventrone. We have seen a lot of these players who are having down years. We have seen Andrew Berry really make some smart trades and make some smart moves. But again, like it all gets overshadowed by the Watson trade and why you thought that was a good idea at the time. Like there are consequences for that. Not only did you alienate, I think a portion of the fan base that I think has grown as the trade has worn on, but you mortgaged your future for a guy who might not be better than Bryce Young at this point.
I can't disagree with that. And in between the years, whatever the problem is, like Jake, if you're the Browns, Andrew Berry's going to speak on Wednesday. He cannot say that he's coming back to play. He has to be back because of the salary. He cannot tell the fan base, this guy's going to get on the field. Like, they're going to storm Berea. Or even worse, like you said, the apathy, just not show up.
Yeah, I mean, that's where the fans have power. If they stop showing up, then I think the message will get through. I think they sent I think it's clear that like the fan base, rightfully so, is not happy with the situation. And, again, like some of this, it's not just the trade itself. It's like all the moves they have made since trying to justify the trade when it was clearly going in the wrong direction. Oh, let's just revamp our entire offense to help number 4. Well, that offense is just disaster. Yeah, where the Browns have had like every year had an effective offense, regardless of who's on the field. They threw all that in the trash. They brought in whatever this is, and it's just not good. They moved on from a lot of, I think, really good coaches from last year's offensive staff. I don't know what Joe Flacco has left in the tank, but the reason they didn't bring him back is because they didn't want to upset Deshaun Watson's ego. So like, it's just all these other moves that they have made to try to placate the guy who can't play. It's just put them in a situation that I just can't believe how badly this whole thing has gone. It's blown up in their face, and there's no easy way out. Like they are probably heading into a long, rough rebuild. And then that's where you're going to have to wonder, well, what do you do with Myles Garrett? What do you do with Denzel Ward?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that they can put together a competent team. There's a path where that happens. Maybe you draft the right quarterback, but Super Bowl contender, like they're just not going to have the resources, I think, to do that.
No, they're absolutely not. So it's a debacle, like you said. They put themselves in this situation. They ran out of what was working, and it wasn't good enough. And now you went all in, and you bombed. Jake, got you for a couple more minutes here. Want to talk quickly about the college quarterback situation. You mentioned a bit off the top. Who to watch here? This is a class right now, and we see every year from this time to the end, some QB can pop out of nowhere, right? It was Josh Allen one year, was whoever. So somebody else could happen. Is there a QB you like for the Browns if they can get high enough in that first round that you like? And is there one you think the Browns GM, as they currently look at things, would like?
Well, I think, first of all, this is not shaping up to be a great quarterback draft like last year, where you had a clear number one, clear number two, clear number three, and those guys were going to go 1, 2, 3. Like, that's not this is not me saying it. Like, people who do this for a living, this is what they would say. Yeah. But even in bad drafts, whether it's the NBA or, there's always guys that, that become worthwhile, right? Sure. And you just have to find the right one. To me, if I had to get, let's say the Browns had the number one pick, what would they do? I would guess Cam Ward would be their guy. That would be my prediction. Terrific player. You see what he's done at Miami. He can do it all. I don't know that he has like the most talent. Like Carson Beck has, you watch some of the throws he makes from Georgia, and it's like, wow. But then he throws 3 picks in a half later, and you're just like, I don't know what to do with this guy. Quinn Ewers kind of feels like a Kenny Pickett type quarterback where, maybe in the right situation, but he's not, I think upside wise, he's not probably what you're going for. Shedeur Sanders, might be the top quarterback taken, but you've got to sign up for the Dion stuff, and maybe you want to, but I don't
Jimmy
know.
Might. He like Johnny.
Yeah. All right. Who am I forgetting? You've got Milroe.
Drew Aller for Penn State.
I'm not as big on Milroe as an NFL quarterback, but we'll see. Drew Aller is a guy that I think you could get in the second round. So let's say, that, and I really like him. Super, super nice kid and a huge Browns fan from the Cleveland area. Okay. So, I was really annoyed with Penn State's game plan in that Ohio State game because they were messing around too much with the different looks and change of pace quarterback. And I don't think they ever let Drew consistently just stand in the pocket and make some throws. But he's played really well this year. And again, he's probably a day 2 guy right now, but let's say you get the 7th pick in the draft and there's just nobody there at quarterback. Maybe you take a left tackle and then you come back and take a Drew Aller. Like that might be the scenario, they have to go for. And I wouldn't hate that pick for them, but yeah, I mean, it's not, it's not one of those years where there's a Trevor Lawrence or a Joe Burrow or, we just don't really see that right now. And that's going to make it even tougher, I think, for the Browns to figure out who the right guy is. And, let's face it, this franchise does not have a sterling track record drafting quarterbacks.
No, they did. But you do think that they have to take a quarterback.
Like, you don't want to take the wrong quarterback.
Right.
That doesn't help you at all.
Which they very well have done and could do again.
You don't want to take a quarterback just to take a quarterback. You want to take the right quarterback. And if you have to trade a future first to go get that guy, whatever. Like, your only way out is Jaden Daniels. Like that. Yes. That's the way out of this. And if you don't get that guy, then you are the New Orleans Saints for the foreseeable future.
Good Lord. Chilling things to come. Good God. Oh boy. Well, Jake, listen, thank you so much for your time. Busy day, I know. Tell people where they can find all your great work.
Yeah, useme.com, and I occasionally tweet, although less than I used to.
And, of course, the Browns postgame show on the Land on
Yep.
Demand and ESPN Cleveland. You do a great job with Chris Oldak there. Jake, thank you so much.
Thanks, Andy. Take care.
Thank you. There you go. Jake Trotter, ESPN Cleveland. Like I said, Browns postgame show, very entertaining. Does a terrific job with Chris Oldak and an amazing job covering college football as well. So I want to know what you guys think of what Jake was saying there. You can jump in the comment section. You can get us on social, on X at SickPodBrowns, at AndyMC81, on Instagram at AndyMCSports. What do you think with the draft strategy? Let's go there for a moment. Because although there's not a clear-cut yes quarterback, if your scouts and if you trust your scouts and if they're good and your decision-making at the GM level is clear and you're not trying to overthink or outsmart everybody, because we know the Browns have some of the dumbest smart people in the league. For all your degrees, I'm sorry, I'd rather have John Dorsey. I know he wasn't perfect, far from it. But I'd rather have a football guy from John Dorsey, and some of those picks of his still on this damn team. Or should be on this team, his decisions. So it's not so much, okay, the quarterbacks aren't, you don't have a clear-cut one. But can you find a guy that you think works with what your system is? And if you go back to the Kevin Stefanski system that has won in 2 Coaches of the Year awards and has worked in Minnesota and here, that play action style, I think there's a quarterback or two that would work in that you can work and you can grow. We have to get away from thinking about these instant stars. Tom Brady said it in the preseason, and we're seeing it. Like, look at Anthony Richardson gets benched for Joe Flacco. I love Flacco, but Anthony Richardson's confidence is shot. Look, you play Sam Darnold right away. But these quarterbacks, now the Browns, whoever they draft, you're probably going to have to play that guy, if not right away. If DTR can show off a little bit and you think he might be a little bit of a bridge for a few games, maybe, or you bring in a cheaper veteran. If Jameis, do you want Jameis back? After last week, not so much. You have the ability to coach up these quarterbacks. Drew Aller, like we said. Quinn Ewert, Jake compared him to Kenny Pickett. I compare him a bit more to Derek Carr. And while Derek Carr, people dump on him, look, when he had pieces around him, the guy is above average. He's kind of like an Andy Dalton. He's an above average guy that can win you games, right? You can build around that. And you can be patient. Look how great Jared Goff is playing. My goodness. Like, look how long it took him to get there. And he had the Super Bowl appearance in LA, of course. But some of these guys, it takes time. And if you can be patient and put them in a QB-friendly system, look at Sam Darnold, what he's doing in Minnesota. That's the Stefanski system. It's the Kubiak, Shanahan, play-action system. And it works. And it's worked with tweaks to modernize it along the way since the 90s. It works. You can get a QB like that. Absolutely you can. Will they get it? Or my fear, will Andrew Berry, and they want the athlete running around quarterback like Milroe. Don't give me Milroe. I do not want Milroe from Alabama. First of all, Alabama quarterbacks overall, not hit and miss. And just a guy who runs around and needs to develop to throw the ball. Come on, man. What? Then we're looking at a smaller Anthony Richardson or a Malik Willis. Like, no. Give me a damn guy who can run Stefanski's play action offense, please. You can still turn it around. Like Jake said, go get your Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels was the second best quarterback in the draft, according to pundits. Not me. I said he was number 1. Go get him. That guy changed it up. That Washington roster, if you look at it overall, especially the defense, it's not good. It's not great. Far from it. But a quarterback gives hope, energy, and elevates. The Browns don't have that right now. Obviously. So now we go into the bye. And we think about, well, what's the draft going to be like? All right. And, of course, the trade. Za'Darius Smith got the poll up at Andy MC81 at SickPod Browns on X. Poll right here. I have Za'Darius Smith and a 2026 7th round pick traded to the Lions for a 2025 5th and 2026 6th round pick. I want to know your vote on this. Is it good that the Browns got something for him, or bad, should have kept him? 60-40 right now. Good, you got something for him, 60%. My vote goes to bad, should have kept him. And if I was going to write hold out for more, but maybe if there wasn't more. So you're getting a 5th and 6th round pick. Now, those can be used, of course, as chips to bundle. Browns now have 9 draft picks this year. You can bundle those, move up, you can do that. So remains to be seen. But if you take those players as is, what the hell are you going to do with a 5th and 6th round pick? Now, Dwan Jones is a 5th rounder, but more often than not, if the guy's a special teamer, you're feeling good. For Za'Darius Smith, you couldn't have got a conditional 4th. Like, I don't think the negotiations sometimes with Andrew Berry are that good. You got Amari Cooper, great deal. Jerry Jeudy, it remains to be seen. Like, there's so much up and down. So what do you think of that Za'Darius Smith trade? I'm underwhelmed. What does that do for you? Nothing. You're already thin. You lost Alex Wright. So who's opposite Miles now? That doesn't help Myles Garrett. Now, Obo and McGuire? See what you have in Isaiah McGuire. He's flashed a little bit, but hasn't really impressed. Maybe he can now. Dwan Jones, the left tackle, moved great. And again, if that works out, kudos to Andrew Berry. I maintain the problem is at the top. If you fire, I said it to Jake, if you fire Stefanski and or Berry, you will just get more yes men in to fall under DePodesta's spell. To fall under it. However, that guy stays employed because he helped Jimmy on the business side of pilot flying jet. Then go work on gas stations, bro. I know you sold it. Go work on the business side. How about you go work on the soccer in Columbus? Go take care of that. Get out of the football world, Depot. Your record sucks. And there's just this, if you just get this waft of smugness. Oh, they know better. Really? Look at the record. You don't know better. You know who knew better? John Dorsey, who turned it around. Now, Odell Beckham trade disaster. You can go through it. But give me a football guy in there. And it's not going to change as long as DePodesta is running this strategy, which you ran your strategy for a decade. Bottom out. Get the quarterback. Go for it. It failed. Your extra go for it when you got rid of Baker Mayfield, sabotaged him, was Deshaun Watson, and it turned into the worst trade in NFL history with the contract that is crippling. That's your strategy. So you failed, DePodesta. You're fired. You failed. It happens. Didn't work out. Thanks for the decade of nothing. Get the hell out of here. He'll be fine. He's got a lot of money. He's good. But no, we can't have that. No. Let's keep DePodesta cooking with this. Outrageous. Let me know what you think of the Browns deal. Do you wish they traded somebody else? Who do you want at quarterback? I'm still undecided right now. I kind of like the Drew Aller. Like Jake said, the offensive strategy for Penn State didn't lend itself to showcase him against Ohio State last week. I like the mobility, battled through with toughness with the knee. Watching in Cleveland, the Georgia-Texas game kind of soured me to Beck and yours a bit. But they could bounce back. Cam Ward, a lot of talent, throws a lot of turnovers. That looks like a wild card play. So what are you going to do? Let me know. At SickPod Browns, at Andy MC81. Also, problems in the fantasy football world, folks. We got buys and we got injuries. Let's get to under the wire. All right. So here's the problems that we face this week. First of all, we're in week 10. My gosh, how'd that happen? Getting late early, as they say, if you're struggling on your fantasy team, and what's been, I think, the weirdest fantasy year yet. On bye, the Browns, Packers, Raiders, Seahawks. Not too much missing from the Raiders. Packers, Browns, Seahawks, quite a bit. I'll look at one of my biggest problems is running back. I have quite a few shares on my fantasy teams of Zach Moss. Oops. And the depth there, the waiver wire is so thin. For me, my two top waiver wire pickups this week on running back, Ray Davis of the Buffalo Bills, who is sneakily having standalone value. Who told you about Ray Davis at the combine, by the way? This guy. I told you go get Ray Davis. I wanted the Browns to draft him. 21% ownership. You can get him. If he's gone, which it seems like he is in all the leagues I'm in, I'm going to try to settle for Khalil Herbert, who was just traded to the Cincinnati Bengals to act as the number 2 to Chase Brown, with Zach Moss out for the year with a neck injury. Outside of that, you have like the Roschon Johnsons, the Tyler Johnson. You have a bunch of committee 2s that aren't doing anything. Herbert may not either, but I like the case where maybe they do want to split, and Herbert, when given chances in the past, has flashed. So that's who I'm going to pick up. If I can't get Ray Davis, I like Herbert. Tight end Mike Gesicki's been popping very quietly. He has been popping, averaging 15.1 fantasy points per game when given a full-time role, getting between 20 and 25% target share. Gesicki's right there. Quarterback, Drake May, been telling you for a while. Even in a down game, he still got your 16 fantasy points. Drake May can play, at least for fantasy purposes. Daniel Jones this week, but you're playing the Panthers. This is a game, and it's in Germany. This is a game where maybe Daniel Jones can actually do something, run around a little bit. Pickups as well. Jonathan Brooks, the rookie, is coming back for the Panthers. So if you have stashed him or whatever, keep him going. Xavier Legette, you know how much I like him for the Panthers as well. 27% rostered. We're looking kind of low to mid-teens, which is really good for that Panthers offense. Noah Brown of the Commanders. I really like 98% availability. I hate the matchup versus Pittsburgh this week, but I really like what he's been able to do the last couple of weeks where he's getting the targets. He's getting some catches. He's hitting double digits. So Noah Brown is actually looking pretty good. Let's see who else I have. I think there was, and then wide receiver Quentin Johnston. Lad McConkey is the man there. As like a flex, maybe WR3 with how the Chargers are starting to cook. Johnson could be a nice pickup. He's available in 80% of most leagues too. So not too shabby at that spot. If we're looking at some best bets here, and before we get to some best bets, you know what, folks? No matter how sad you are about the Browns, you know what makes better? Make a sandwich, make a burger, make a hot dog, and put some stadium mustard on it. You know it. From ballparks to backyards and everywhere in between, stadium mustard is a smooth but spicy mustard, rich in taste and tradition. Stadium mustard is real and organic, not manufactured. You get it at Cleveland Browns Stadium. You get, when we went down for the wrestling last week, me and my son at the Clevelander, different restaurants, stadium mustard right in there. Johnny's Little Bar, stadium mustard right in there. All over the place. Order it if you're outside the Cleveland area. Check out the website. They got shirts. We're going to be giving away a shirt this weekend on the Sunday show. Stadium mustard. Mwah. Love stadium mustard. Delicious. Just ups the game of any meat. Any meat you're going to put mustard on, you put stadium mustard on, you're feeling good about it. We look at some early best bets here. Now, the Thursday game is interesting. Bengals, Ravens. Baltimore, 6-point favorites. Total over under 52.5. Is it going to be a total shootout? Is it going to be 52.5? A bit, maybe a bit rich. I'd be looking at right now the Bengals to cover. That 6 division game. It's in Baltimore. Bengals to cover, and maybe the under. I'm going to think about, you know what? Because 25, 50 could be a division game. You know what? Let's stay away from the over-under. We'll take Cincinnati to cover. We're going to take anytime touchdown Derrick Henry. And we're going to take anytime touchdown Chase Brown. Run back. Getting the full load again. Let's do that. Let's pop in those 3 and check out that Thursday night game, which should be actually really good. And because, hey, we're talking touchdowns, anytime touchdowns, the number one place to bet touchdowns is the DraftKings Sportsbook app. You can download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code 6sports. That's code 6sports for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
One more for the sick picks. Give me New Orleans plus 150 straight up money line. I know they stink, and they do. Coaching change. Usually you get one game bump up. They can get that bump out of the way, beat Atlanta, division rival, come back down to earth, and get a feel-good win for the Browns. Maybe that'll hurt on the draft side, but I don't want to lose out. I don't want to lose all the way out. I want a couple more wins, man. Give me plus 150 on the Saints as well. That'll be an ugly game, too. Oof. Okay, folks, there you go. Let me know what you think about the Za'Darius Smith trade. Vote on the poll on X at SickPodBrowns, at AndyMC81. Follow along there on Instagram at AndyMCSports. Jump in the comment section, subscribe, turn the notification on, share the show. I had a great chat with Jake Trotter, so you want to check that out if you missed any of that. Thank you so much to ESPN Cleveland's Jake Trotter, to producer Jimmy, and all of you. I'm Andy McNamara. As always, go Browns!
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.